we are starting a film lab. Now, this has been going on for about 6 months now with Chris, Zeke, and I, and kind of piecing this together and working on it. So the benefit of this and what's going on is we're going to be doing a lot of free film development as well as severely discounted development, camera giveaways and film giveaways and all types of different perks to starting this because we're kind of on a tight timeline. And I'm going to explain that now as well as what the space looks like and kind of what we have envisioned for this. So we started looking about 6 months or so ago for a location to open up a lab. At first it was just kind of a thought, and then when we looked at locations and priced things out with Zeke and some other people needing a studio space after theirs had kind of changed ownership and things, pricing wasn't as out of reach as we had initially thought. Ended up looking at a space, loved it, it was great, it was perfect, but that ended up falling through. But we went down, looked at the place anyways, talked to the owner, and he ended up having a space on the back end of that unit that was a little bit smaller and actually works out to be right in our price range at a very comfortable thing that we can probably manage much easier. And it's not going to be as big a burden and much more manageable for us to maintain and get things moving quickly and make sure we don't sacrifice on any of the quality or anything with regards to the development and studio aspect, which we're going to talk about. He had somebody else that wanted to look at it possibly first, so we were kind of second in line. And so it went on the back burner and we focused more on the back end stuff. So improving our film developing, improving our scanning, improving the setup and workflow, making sure it's much more exact, removing as much room for error as we possibly could, and just making sure we are producing the best quality results we can for when things actually start to work out. Now with that, I now have a massive film dryer in my garage. I have 2 big Jobos for temp controlled film development, and there's also an SP2000 film scanner over there, which has been the biggest setback for us as far as not launching online first. So this scanner, we brought it over here. It's a beast, it weighs a ton. And when it left, it was working. When it got here, it was not, which is a problem. It is in generally great condition otherwise. And so we started dissecting issues. First, based upon the errors I was getting, I was like, okay, maybe it needs a new bulb. Switch the bulb, that wasn't it. Maybe it's getting too much power from my 220 outlet since, those tend to vary. And then maybe, okay, it's getting not enough power from my 220 outlet. And none of those worked out. And so, okay, I think we might have a leaky capacitor is what ended up being the result of that. Took out the whole unit, looked at that, the capacitors were fine. However, in doing so, there was a row of soldering points that had cracked, assuming in transit. And so there's about 10 different pins that Chris had to resolder, put that back in, and we were about this close from getting it up and running. And then we ran into a software issue. So we have to download some more software and do some troubleshooting there. And now that we have gone so far in troubleshooting this, anything that does pop up in the future should be a relatively quick, easy, painless fix. I literally had a rocket scientist in here to look at this. I had a software engineer, and then Chris, who with his expertise on cameras, espresso machines, and this scanner might as well be an engineer himself. So we've put a lot of time and effort into getting that up and running. But we are on a bit of a time crunch now. The unit we are looking at, we have to move quickly if we want it. Otherwise, it's going to end up slipping out of our fingers and going to someone else. So because of that, we are going to go ahead and launch and offer free high-res TIFFs with DSLR scanning in replacement of the SP2000 until we can get that up and running. So not only are we going to give free high-res scans on top of the development, but for now, I'm also going to waive push and pull fees in addition to that. Also, there's going to be limited quantities on the website when we launch next week. I'll provide the date below. There will be limited quantities of free development and then limited quantities of half-off development. And after that, there will be packages for the holiday specials. So maybe you'll get 5 rolls developed for the price of 3. And this is all to kind of help us push this and get this out the door quicker. So we decided to go with the name Ingrain & Co. because we have so many ideas and things that we want to do and try and put together that we wanted to have that and in there, and company, and more, because there's so much more we want to do under this kind of umbrella. And this is kind of the first step in taking that and kind of making these things happen. So that's what the name is. And so if you want to go check out the website, I'll have that listed right here as well. This space lends itself to being very flexible with what we want to do. We don't just want to have a film lab where you come in, drop off your film, maybe talk for a couple minutes and walk out. We want to be able to have this kind of umbrella that you can do a lot of things and have access to a lot right there. For example, I mean, Hasselblads are expensive. A lot of film cameras are becoming more and more expensive and harder to find. So having a place like this where you can come and rent a Hasselblad, maybe for an hour, a couple hours, and then being able to use it right there in studio for a portrait session, because not all of us are going to use a Hasselblad all throughout the year or can afford or want to spend that kind of money on one. But having the option and ability to go and rent one for a couple hours, or if you have an idea or a shoot you really want to use one for, we want to provide that kind of flexibility and the usage for people who want to get into film but don't want the price tag associated with those nicer cameras that we all want to use. Me personally, I'm very fortunate enough to have this kind of garage, this small section of my garage, I guess, to kind of shoot this stuff, as well as product videos and photos and stuff like that in here, but not all of us have that space or flexibility. So having a location where we can go and rent for a couple hours just to do some of these projects at an affordable price that doesn't break the bank and we can still make money off of, or at least make it worth it for us to use it at that price point, is something that I really want to bring to this area, and I think would be a valuable asset, especially combining that with being able to use the film equipment, cameras, and gear that we have there on site. So we really want to push this out there and spread the word and kind of get the ball rolling and make sure that we can pay the bills, keep the lights on, and make this something viable that we can bring to the community, not only here online on YouTube, but also locally as well. And so for those of you who are not local, you're more than welcome to come anytime and check out the space. I look forward to it. I hope you do. And there will definitely be some incentives for those of you who aren't really physically in the local area, but if you ever do come down, I will make sure there is a very warm welcome for you if you're helping support. Now, I've mentioned before making sure that you're on my email list on my personal website, because that will be the first place that I send out this notification when the website is live as far as products and where you can get those free developments and discounted developments. So make sure you're on that email list. Also, after that, it'll be announced on social media and just kind of spreading the word to the film community and your friends who might be interested, whether it be here or elsewhere. Our pricing is going to be very competitive to other online labs, and we really want to make this work. So any help that we can get, I would really appreciate it. Even if you're not actually buying something or you can't afford to develop film right now, just sharing this really helps a lot, and we would greatly appreciate it. So make sure you follow Ingrain & Co. on social media, because that is the second location we will announce these giveaways and promotions. Now, there will be quantity limits for these, so you can't get more than one free development or more than one half-off development. If you try and put more than one in your cart, I'll probably reject that order, and you might miss out on the free development. If you already have a lab that you use or you develop on your own, that's great, but if you wouldn't mind just sharing this. So that is what's been going on. I'm going to do my best to document this whole process along the way as kind of a, I guess, how to start a film lab tutorial. There'll probably be a lot of things not to do along the way primarily, but there'll be some definitely tips and things that I will learn, and I definitely want to share here on this platform. So if you can support this lab and this channel, that would be great, so that I can continue to be able to document this along the way and share that with all of you. That would be greatly appreciated. But so yeah, that's what's happening. We are starting a film lab. Be sure you're on the email list and following those social accounts for Ingrain & Co. so you can be first alerted on any giveaways and those film developments for free and half off that we're going to be announcing next week. That's going to wrap up this video. Make sure you see me next week to hopefully get yourself some free film developed.